Good evening, everyone. Oh, did you see how I did that? Did you see that?
Yeah.
That's magic.
It certainly is.
There
she is.
I went to get the Bible.
She went to get the lamp out. You know, the rubby lamp way.
So I went to get the Bible.
Good evening, Reverend Nick. Thank you for joining us, and Reverend Jeanette. We're all a big mouthful this evening, aren't we? All being our Reverend status, steady. I'd like to just say good evening to everyone. I'll say hello to everyone in the little boxes there, but thank Reverend Nick for coming to see us. We won't dwell on it, but I would like to just convey all our condolences, Reverend Nick, on the passing of your dad. You know, we all felt for you. You know, it's a really difficult time for you and your mum, and we're all here for you if you need us. I'm not going to dwell on it because I remember the feeling well. But I'd just like you to know, did you see the little lighthouse when you were coming online? The little lighthouse all lit up on the shore, that was for you. We'll be your little lighthouse for you. Especially for you. So good evening, everyone. Let's see. We've got some names on the screen. I'll run through them because, Jeanette, you're on your phone tonight, aren't you, my love?
Yeah,
so
I can't see anybody's names.
That's it. So you can put what you like, everyone. You can't read it.
Be careful.
Good evening, Anne, Pamela, Lisa, Paul, Jan, Haley, Sean. Who else we got? Jacqueline, Sophie. Facebook user, there's our Christine and Wayne. Good evening, you two. And Emma. I've got to really thank Christine and Wayne because we found some lovely, fabulous, comfy chairs for the church. And Wayne kindly took his van and Christine and helped me pick them up. And then they scrubbed and cleaned them and brought them back clean. All I had to do was help lift them back into church. I call that a result, but I also call it thank you very much.
That's very kind.
It is very kind, and they look amazing. They really do look good. Wayne's tested every one of them because every time he moved in church, he sat back down in a different chair. We said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I can't remember where I was sat. They all look the same."
So he weren't sleeping on the job then?
No, oh gosh, no. Christine won't let him. Hi, Tony. Good evening. Andrew, Sasha. Oh, Sasha, thanks for joining us this evening. Well, I think before I get carried away with myself, Reverend Nick, I better let you do the opening prayer, my love.
Oh, shall we? Well, let us all join together.
Thank you.
In peace, tranquility, and love. And remember that unconditional love of spirit and that unconditional love of God that means that we are looked after, we are protected, we are given help and hope, even in our darkest hours. As we say, Great Spirit, Father, Mother, God, we thank you truly for the opportunity to come together as friends, to unite under your banner of love and hope and friendship, and to call out to all those that have gone before us, that we may witness that life indeed is eternal. As we place this service in your care and keeping, Great Spirit, we ask that all those that have gone before us reach out through the veil so that they may reach out and touch us as you reach out and touch each person here present, those that will be present in the future, and those that are unable to be with us at this time, spreading your love like a web of light across the earth. Amen.
Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
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 I think we did a worthy of Lynn's little echo there, didn't we? Only I sounded a lot deeper than I'm used to. Have you ever watched yourself back on live?
No.
I once did a kids' party, you know, and I said, "Who the heck is that squeaking in the background? It sounds ridiculous." And somebody said, "Sarah, it's you." And I went, "No." And I played it back and said, "That's it. I'm lowering my tone by about 2 octaves."
Yeah, I heard myself once or twice, and I was like, somebody was actually playing the video at work, and I was like, what are you playing that for? And they said, oh, we want to see what you had to say. I said, turn it off now. I make it a rule to never rewatch myself. Not only is it the highest form of potential ego, it's also the highest form of self-destruction, because you either become obsessed with watching yourself to make sure that you're brilliant, and then the ego has the potential to take over. I'm not saying that it does all to everyone, but it's that potential. But also you drive yourself nuts because you say, I should have said that. I shouldn't have said that. I should have done it that way. Why did I wear my glasses like that? Why was I wearing that? And you drive yourself mad. So just don't do it. It's just, oh, it's awful. It's awful. It's awful. The thing is, you hear yourself in a different way because your own voice echoes around your own head. And when you hear, for those that are training in spirit, for the most part, when you're working, you don't actually hear a voice per se. You hear your own voice because spirit use your own thought processes. So when you're first starting out, you hear your own voice. It does change and grow as you move on, but you hear your voice as you hear it. But when you actually get the acoustics around you impacting that sound that you hear from within yourself, it changes it completely. And you know, not only is that a poignant thought on the physics of listening to yourself, it's also a very good lesson on emotionally listening to yourself, because you don't hear yourself in your own head in the way others do, or even you would yourself. It's only when you take yourself out of yourself and get and allow the acoustics of the world to influence what it is that you're thinking and saying to yourself, does it actually start to work. So I always call it vocalize to rationalize. And it's a very important thing, and certainly something that I've learned. And I just read a message from, just briefly, hello, Christina. I find it strange listening to yourself. We never realize how our accents really sound. And that's absolutely the point. Absolutely the point. We don't hear it. We don't hear ourselves as others do. No. But we don't also hear ourselves as we should sometimes. It's not only that vocalizing to rationalize, but it goes exactly the same as the Lord's Prayer. I've never always been a massive fan of prayers by rote because of the risk of them. When Jesus said the Lord's Prayer, he said, say something like this. He was teaching people to pray, and it's a really good prayer and it unites people. So I'm not dissing or knocking it at all. I am a Christian spiritualist minister after all. But my point is, when we say things by rote, we run the risk of not hearing what we're saying. Which is why whenever I write a prayer, yes, I'll keep aspects that are repetitive. Everyone's heard my little bit in the healing prayer, it seems, around the universe these days. It's been heard in Canada and all over the place. And it was just something that Spirit gave to me. Yes, there is those little bit, but the point is, when we say things by rote, we actually don't always think about the meaning and the depth behind what we're saying. We just say it. So to our Father, so look, God, please, you're up there. You're great. You're wonderful. You're brilliant. Thank you. But I need your help. Give me what I need to get through the day. I know I make mistakes, but please, help me fix that and help me understand that other people make mistakes too, and that we shouldn't punish them for it. You are wonderful. You are brilliant. We thank you so much. Amen. When you're actually thinking about the words that you're formulating, you're thinking about the meaning. You're making that emotional connection with those words. When we recite things, we know it. We don't always. So I always like to mix things up and I'm giving away a big secret here now. Occasionally I'll get myself in trouble because people think I've got the Lord's Prayer wrong. I haven't. I deliberately swap the occasional verse round. Because what does it do? It then makes them think about what is actually being said. And that's the point. Think about what you are saying when you are praying, because it is that emotional connection that matters. The reason I'm saying this, of course, you touched on it, and I don't want to dwell on it either, but I prayed an awful lot at the end of January. And it would be easy to perceive that my prayers were not answered, because from the aspect of what I was asking, they weren't. But we also must remember, I've always been a big talker about the Garden of Gethsemane, when Jesus asked for the cup to pass, and of course it would not pass. And the guards still came. He said, please, why have you abandoned me, Dad? I'm doing all that you asked me to do. And now you've abandoned me and I'm gone, and it's all over. And those words are particularly poignant, obviously, for how I was feeling. But the cup would not pass, because sometimes we have to remember, when it comes to a big being up in the sky that works in mysterious and weird ways, sometimes it's thy will, not my will. And the truth is, we don't know what would have been the result had life continued. Would things have been even harder? We don't know. We're human beings. We make mistakes. We're fallible, as the prayer says. But what we have to remember is that when we say something, we have to, especially when we're addressing the great big bearded one in the sky, for what some people think, we all know that's not true. But we have to remember that we don't always get what we ask for. We do get what is needed, even if it hurts like hell. And only by coming together and triumphing through adversity can we actually make the kingdom of heaven on earth. And there we go. I didn't know where that came from. I didn't know that I was going to say that. It just kind of like poured out. So there you go. All that from saying a prayer.
No, that's lovely. I have to say, I just add to that, Reverend Nick, is that I agree with you, because the Lord's Prayer, I did used to just reel it off like you did in school. Yeah. And it's not until I actually stepped up and became a minister that I slowed it down and actually listened to the words that I'm saying. And you'll notice that I do a pause, because I'm thinking about what I'm saying. And I actually believe in what I'm saying. And so I agree totally. I just used to reel it off like you do at school and never give it a thought. And now I do. So yeah, thank you for that.
And Jacqueline's just made the absolute point that I was probably not making as well as I would normally. If the prayer is not answered, there is a bigger reason for it. And that's why we say thy will, not my will, because my will is that I want that prayer answered. But thy will is, you don't know everything, get on with it and do as you're told. And I'm told that by my guide frequently.
I'm told that by my other half. No, not really. I'm not. Jeanette Moore tells me that, don't you? Get on with it.
Get on with
it. I'm liking that microphone. I must speak to you after about that. Yes.
Oh, is that what it is? Tell you my eyes are that bad, I couldn't even tell what it was.
Well, I'm not going to. I know that I have a bad reputation about inviting the whole universe into my bedroom on a Thursday night, but that's ridiculous. 30 quid from Argos. 30 quid from Argos.
Oh, I want one. Right. It's a mini satellite dish, Jeanette.
Right. This is the diffuser. So that so you don't get the purpers, because if
oh, that's clever.
Yeah, so it's a diffuser. And believe it or not, the brand is Trust.
Really? Oh,
Very
well,
good.
so next week when you see this big black thing in front of my screen, you know I've got one. It covers my laptop, but you know you can still hear me. Right.
And it's got little elasticy bits that means that it doesn't knock on anything, so I can sit and hold it and not make a noise.
Yeah, I could make a noise with a tissue, if you know what I mean. So that probably won't work for me anyway. You know, sneaking up is not one of my fortes. Right. And on that note, I think we shall go into the absent healing prayer. So if you'd all like to I thought about this last night, actually. It came to mind, I was nodding off to sleep. I thought there's probably quite a lot of people out there that are wanting to add people and they haven't messaged me. Why not pop it in the comments of the names you would like these prayers to go out to and the healing? Pop them in the comments for us and we can all see them. Was you going to say that, Reverend Nick?
No.
Oh,
No. I'm just reading some of the comments. I saw one that amused myself and my guide. I say no more.
Oh, I'm going to have a look while the candles are on. Here we go. Great Spirit, Father, Mother God, here we bring upon you all those listed in our absent healing books, that it may please thee to heal them, be they sick in mind, body, or soul, both those we know, those we don't know, and those who have no one to ask for them. We ask for them now. Amen.
Amen.
A healing sent to everybody that's added names into the comments. I like that idea, actually. I think we'll stick with that one. That's a good idea. So that way, that if anybody doesn't want to sort of put it out there, they can do it gently in that way. So thank you, everybody, for joining in with that. Good evening, David. We've got more people popping up. We've got another Facebook user, which is Praxis Christine. But thank you, everybody, for joining us. I know we keep saying, but we are grateful to see that you're there. I mean, we're used to talking to ourselves, but tonight would be nice just to talk to others, you know. Good evening, Alan. Nice to see. Hey, right. Well, Nick, I think, do you have a little bit of philosophy for us, or was that your philosophy?
Yes. No, oh, come on. You know me better than that. I could fill up 4 or 5 services with philosophy, and of course, I would call the first part a philosophical interlude, but it did have the penchant for maudlin melancholy and depression, and of course, we don't want this. We want some fizz. And of course, I am renowned for being the one that uplifts people rather than the one that hammers on the drum and brings things down with the seriousness. Here's the point, though. I've always tried to find an even balance of the two. The point is, you need both. And hello, Mother, who's watching.
I was just going to say that. Hi, Linda.
I always worry because her internet ain't upgraded yet, and you know the signal isn't always the best. But she's on, she's here, marvelous. But the point is, you know, I always say when I start a demonstration, so I'm saving myself a minute or two in a little while. I do like the uplifting side of our way of life. I do like laughter. I do like love. I do like jokes. I do like silliness, and many of the people that come through from Spirit come through to me specifically because that's how they were. But everyone, no matter how hilarious they are in their life, has an element of the tears of the clown, the seriousness. So I'm always serious when I need to be, But if I don't need to be, I'm not going to be. And that's how I work, how my guide works. So I had a message from the lovely Veronica Jenkins, who's been working she is one of the unsung heroes of our way of life over this last year, pulling together every service online. It feels like her huge list, which I hope she's copying and pasting and editing rather than sitting and typing it all out in one go. But she has compiled a list over the last year, every single day, of all of the services that are online. She has not opted for any special treatment for any of the random organizations that exist. She's all about bringing us all together and uniting under one banner, and that is the Great Spirit. And I think what she has done has been absolutely wonderful. And the reason I brought that up, just me and the interludes, I just look, credit where credit's due. And something that is perceivably as simple as that can go really, really south really, really quickly, because you don't get a lot of graciousness. You don't get Can you see me now, love?
It was the way she went.
Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of StreamYard. And now she can see us. It won't be so hard. But no, in all seriousness, it's a thankless task, but it's an essential task. And she sent me a message, and she was asking me a question. I'm not going to spoil the surprise or nothing. I'm just going to talk about the context of what we were talking about in the context of the philosophy. I made a comment about her patience with me, because as we all know, I am not the most organized and timely of people. At the best of times, let alone the worst of times. I hold down a full-time job, I run a petrol station, I have a house to look after, I have a life to lead, as well as a church and a ministry. And working as the suffragan Archbishop of the New Christian Spiritualist Society, I get it from all angles. Excuse me. When the phone's pinging constantly all day, and I'm always answering and getting in trouble for answering it as well. I mean, downstairs. I made this comment to her about her, my guide finding her wonderful because she has the patience to put up with even me. And she laughed and said, "Oh, your guide's got a good sense of humor," and he has, because he's my guide, And I'm not saying that in an ego way. It's because of the natural laws of mediumship. Like attracts like, and we work with people best who are like us. My guide had a hand in retail. My guide had a hand in, shall we say, being involved in the orchestration of a spiritualist group. He also did many other things that I do, but he also had this really, really naughty sense of humor, and veiled by this image of sheer dominance that he had that I really don't, was this really, really naughty, childlike, dark sense of humor underneath it. And my dad had the same sense of humor, and it's carried down to me, I'm afraid, and well, I'm not afraid, I love it. But that also means that when I'm doing the communication, the people that want to come through are going to see, oh, I can get on with his sense of humor, oh, let's go to that one, oh, I think I'm going to be all right with this one. But in the same vein, there will be people in the world of spirit that would really, really, really be disdaining in coming through me because of that, and it's all about life. Everyone behaves in a different way in a different situation, but we all tend to pull together in groups. And, just because we're in one group and someone else is in another group, it doesn't mean to say that there's not a crossover in that. There's always a crossover, and that's the way the groups work. I mean, when I was doing workshops, when we were allowed to do things, you know, in person, I miss those workshops. I gave everybody a description of the mechanics of guides and helpers, and I used mobile phones as an example. And interesting enough, my screensaver, my blue man, one of my other guiding lights. When I first met him, I created a CGI of him. He was holding a crystal ball, dear. Do not be rude.
I must admit, I was like, whoa, what's that on there?
No. It's a deeply spiritual picture. I will share it with you in a bit so you can show it to everyone.
Okay.
I thought my glasses have steamed up.
I bet you wish you hadn't changed your glasses. But no, I would not do something like that in a church service. But he spent, and actually he's a really, really good example, and I will come to that because he comes in at the end anyway. So this demonstration I gave of people of how to understand how guides work. It's the G's. You know, I know everyone hates 5G and everything, but bear with me, it's just a parable. So we are the standard, you know, lines of communication. We're, you know, there's no internet, there's, you know, we are just basically 1G, or H, as it comes up on mine all the time. You know, you then go up to 2G. So that's got a little bit more, you know, guts in it, a little bit more information. Those are your guides. And it's interesting that G comes in all the time, because above your guides in the levels of development and communication is the group of spirit. So everyone has a group of helpers, whether they're a working medium or not. And, you know, those groups, they all work together, and they translate the knowledge that comes from above them into the group understanding that is then transcended into your guide so that you can understand it. So it's all these levels of filtration, and each one getting a bit higher and higher and higher. So you've got the group. Now, obviously, you've got you, then you've got 2G for your guide, you've got 3G for your group, and then you've got guiding beings, so 4G, you know, lightning fast broadband, and you can send pictures over the internet, and you can stream yourself over the internet, and that's the spiritual version of these guiding lights. Now, this particular individual who came to help me in that vein, what he actually did, for the first 5 years, he was just a speck of blue light on the horizon every time I meditated. 5 years! I'm not a patient person. You know, so then come closer, come closer, come closer. No, I didn't get that. As it got closer, it took the form of a physical being, but it was just I called him my blue man because he was just a glowing blue figure, and that was it. Still no words. About 2 years after that, finally got a conversation. But yeah, I know. So we're talking about 8 years in at that point. The wondrous thing was, I was in awe of this being, you know, but I learned my lesson, because he would never identify himself in any identifiable way. I had a connection with him. I understood him. I linked with him and everything, but there was never, ever any particular identity that would be translatable or connectable. And that was because he wanted me to get to know the personality before the person that is identifiable. Because there are certain things that would have annoyed me had I not get to know him first. And it was such an interesting journey. So that's the mobile phone version of spirit helpers. The point is, my blue man, my 5G helper, he was nervous that I wouldn't want to work with him based on what he thought I wouldn't like. This real higher up being is worried what I think. This is the point, and this is the message from Spirit. What we think as individuals matters, because those around us that are drawn to us from the world of spirit and in our lives, like attracts like. We're all drawn together for a reason. Now, with all those interlinking groups crossing over, we're all connected. Because, of course, above the 5G, which I know everyone doesn't like scientifically, but analogy, of course, the 5G is God. Although Gordon did say to me one day, you do know that you're going to have to revise this one day when they come up with 6G, because you're going to have to find another G to put in the list. I said, well, I'm sure you'll figure something out. And he just stared at me for 5 minutes and then walked off. It's stern, do it yourself, Nick. But no, we have to recognize that we all have our connections, but we also have to recognize that no matter who you are, as a higher up being, you still care about the people that you work with. That is why I always struggle with the concept of ego when you are a medium. It really, I won't use the term my granddad used to use because it twisted something, but it really grinds my gears, I shall say, that there could be ego, because the things that you see as a medium, the things that you feel as a medium, the things that you experience as a medium, and having communication with this glowing bubble of light that's all, blue, I'm big and high up, who then cares what you're thinking. How could you then reflect onto the world an ego? The point is because it's all about the people you connect with. And if you have that penchant within yourself, the information you're going to get is going to come through people who have that penchant. This is why certain mediums do things one way and certain mediums do another. This is why some philosophy can conflict. Even within spiritualism, you've got Christian spiritualism, modern spiritualism. But if you look at the core, spiritualism is about being alive and living, losing something, but carrying on none the same. And that is the lesson of life. Keep Winston Churchill, KBO. Once again, church, not going to translate what those initials are, just Google it. And that's the wonderful thing. You can Google everything these days. But yeah, it's all about finding your group and sticking with them, because they know you and you know them, and they're happy to work with you because they want to be able to communicate with us and share their love and share their hope and share their thoughts. And that's what mediumship's about. That's what spiritualism's about. That is what philosophy is all about at the end of the day. Because as much as our spirituality gets us into trouble sometimes, it's our spirituality that will always get us out of trouble. We hope. But the whole point of communication is to prove that life is eternal. I don't always sit entirely well with that, because as I've just said, life has a purpose and a meaning. And it's not just about being eternal. It's about working on it and getting through it and having a bit of a giggle along the way. And so as much as spirit is about communicating and proving survival of the soul and the spirit of the individual, mediumship also has to be the survival of the uplifting spirit, the survival of the humorous spirit, the spirit that is within us that says, yes, we can have a bit of a giggle if someone trips over a cable. Yes, so long as they don't hurt themselves. But what was the cable doing there in the first place? Why was a risk assessment not done? And have we recorded that as an incident in the diary? Two minds in one. But no, it's about moving forward, achieving your goals, and spirit can help us along the journey. And it doesn't have to be all doom and gloom. I'm reminded, and we'll finish with the words of one exceptionally brilliant philosopher, and her name is Edwina Monsoon, also known, of course, as Jennifer Saunders. She was in a meeting and her words were, I'm sick of all this misery and all this rubbish. Yeah, it's difficult. Yeah, and it's hard, but it's not all that bad. So get on with it. And interestingly enough, that's exactly what my guide said to me. So I'll say thank you all for listening, and God bless you all.
Oh, God bless. Thank you, Nick.
So before you go, Nick, who is your guide? The one you've just showed us. Who is it?
Oh, I'll send you the picture, but I don't do identities.
All right.
I don't. This. I will mention names and I will mention descriptions as names. But the point is, if we go down the route of sharing the names of our guides, if people knew them in their life, they will always either be comparing the two of you or expecting you to go down the same path as that person or think you're name dropping. I don't.
Right.
I have to get to know people before I will share that information with them unless they guess. In which case, that's fine. In an actual fact, when I was on the East London District Council of the SNU, many of the mediums who were on that council recognised my guide because they did know him. But I said to him, if we're going to do this, I'm going to walk my own path. I'm going to do things my way, and I'm not going to follow the same route that you did because, yes, we're close and yes, we're friends, but I'm not exactly the same as you, and I'm not here to be a carbon copy of you. Otherwise, they'd have given you another 50 years. It's great to be able to identify them, but I don't tend to name drop. I do slip up sometimes when I'm talking about him because he's such a good friend. I do talk about him, and when I first started developing, I worked really, really hard I used to use initials, I used to use nicknames, but as time's gone on, I've stopped caring so much, and so has he, and so I will drop his first name because there's a lot of people with that first name. Okay, if we've got a minute or two, I will tell the story of how we first met. When I was in secondary school, my abilities awoke for communicating again. I'd shut them down as a child, as every other child did in my generation, but they started waking up again in my teenage years. And in the early to mid 90s, I had, and I'm deliberately not being specific on a date. But in the early to mid 90s, I had an experience where this being of light walked into the drama studio one lunchtime where I was practicing some Shakespeare, funnily enough. And he walked in. I jumped out of my skin. He put his hands out to me and he says, "Calm down, dear boy. It's fine. I'm a friend." So okay. And I was still, that really didn't help. And he just smiled and he said, "You will see me again. I'm going to help you. I will be your friend one day." And he was gone, and that was it. And it was to be, like another 6 or 7 years before I saw him again when I sat in circle. But being the person I was, I made a note of this. And I then, about 5 or so years after I started developing as a medium and was talking to him, and all the information he'd been given in my little book that I kept as a student, I then actually got access to Google. So I started searching it, and an hour, bear in mind what people say about spirit communication, an hour after this gentleman passed was when he came to me in the drama studio of the City of Ely Community College in Ely, Cambridgeshire in the middle of the fens where 90% of the universe don't know we exist. And, you know, he was there an hour after he passed.
Wow.
And I didn't even know he existed. In actual fact, until I started doing Google, I didn't really know who he was, other than, you know, just the guy that I got to know. And that's the important thing about our way of life. It really, really is. Get to know the stuff first, and don't bloody name drop.
So did that answer David's question?
Yes, sorry, I did rant there. David, did that help?
Yes, I'm sure David will let us know. Thank you for that, Reverend Nick. That's fab. Jeanette, do you have a Bible reading and a little poem for us?
I do.
Thank
the Bible
you.
Reading Sarah actually gave me. Well, actually, she gave me both of them.
Talk about name dropping, Reverend Nick. Eh?
But it's about being courageous, and I think it's something we've all had to be in the pandemic. We've all had various things that we've struggled with, whether it's been your mental health or whether it's you've lost someone close to you. You've even lost a friend, who I did the other week. You know, there's a lot of things we have to be courageous for. So the Bible reading it's Deuteronomy 31 verse 6. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He never will leave you nor forsake you. And the poem Sarah chose was called Courageous, or Courage. Courage to speak up, courage to stand up, courage to say yes, courage to say no, courage to make a change, to view something in new light, courage to let go, courage to go after, courage to start, courage to end, courage to walk away, to sit still, courage to grow, courage also to stop. Everything begins with courage. And it really does. Like I said, we're all struggling. I defy anybody to say they've not struggled within the lockdown. It just messes with everybody's head, basically. You know, we all miss somebody to cuddle. If you're sat at home by yourself and you can't get to your son or your daughter, you know, like we said, Nick's just gone through a funeral, and that's another terrible thing, because you can't cuddle each other and comfort each other. And comforting each other is a big thing that we miss. So probably, Nick, later you'll probably have a little do for your dad where you can cuddle each other.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure he'll be there.
Certainly will. Certainly will. You know, and I have to say, you know, not only did the reading, but and this is what I always say, there's proof in philosophy. I had no idea what you was going to read. You obviously did. You didn't tell me anything about it because that's our way. But look at how that tied in with the whole concept of not only the first piece but the second piece. You know, and how spirit have the charge of everything, and that is of a comfort. That is a comfort. Yeah, really. And it's such a beautiful poem. In actual fact, a very, very, very close and personal friend of mine, that would have meant a great deal to, because her father always used to tell her that the password was courage, and she would occasionally get that through a medium as well. So, you know, if she's listening, or chances are she will be listening eventually rather than live, I'm sure that she will take some comfort in that too.
Absolutely. Well, I have to say, Reverend Nick, when I try and think of if I'm doing the Bible reading and the poem, this morning I sat here and about 5:30 this morning and said, what am I going to do? What am I going to sing tonight? What am I going to? I've got Reverend Nick on. You know, he's going through all. What am I going to? And courage came straight, and I thought, that's it. It was dead easy. Courage, and I thought, yeah, that, and you know, we didn't know, like you said, we hadn't chatted, we hadn't discussed it, so it all ties in lovely. And you read it beautifully, Jeanette.
And
Yes.
my mind was blank. I haven't got a clue what I'm doing because I don't know what I'm doing half the time.
We're all the same, love. Don't worry.
So Sarah came up with that one, and I thought, yeah, we'll go with that one.
Yeah, and you read it really well as well. You did. So. Right, well, I think it's that time of the evening, Reverend Nick, if you're ready. You look like you've got a little bit of fizz there, and I don't mean your Coca-Cola in the set, and there are other brands, of course.
That's going to say it wasn't Coca-Cola anyway. I'm maximum thirst, maximum flavour.
Oh, I see. I see. Well, hopefully that'll aid and abet with your spirit.
Well, and that's always the way, because they will tolerate me drinking it so long as I don't work at the same time as drinking it. Because of the caffeine, you see, they get really, really annoyed. So one is assuming that it's just us, and I'm shouting out to someone listening.
Yes, please. Could I just, if I may just have a word with everybody and everybody's shell-like, and just say that if Nick does connect with someone, if you could just hold off chatting amongst yourselves so that the messages come through a little bit quicker for Nick for the answers, if you won't mind just doing that. And the other thing I can tell you, Reverend Nick, is keep calm and carry on, even when somebody's not popping up, because eventually they get there.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Well, speaking of which, thank you. I was made instantly aware of someone coming forward. They're not pushing themselves forward very much at the moment, but they will come forward. But this person, instantly, the first, and it's a really, really big. Oh, bye. It's just, welcome to the Nick Show. Welcome to my bedroom. Thank you. So she's now starting. Thank you. She's now starting to become more of a self. That is actually indicative in how I work and the kind of the information they give me. What goes on around me kind of bounces forward. She wasn't good in groups. She was much more better on a one-to-one personal basis. So the reason she was hanging back is because there was a few of us here. I'm very much aware that there's something about this side of her head. It felt like someone was tickling me. So it could be something that someone brushed just before she passed, or did, or stroked the side of her head. Or it could be that there was an injury or an illness there. Thank you. As she moves closer, because she says, oh, now it's just us, we can have a bit of a giggle. Like I said, they like to giggle. So as she moves forward now, thank you. I believe that she is trying to come to a female. Oh, hello. Hello. So I assume I can work with you and you understand what I've said so far. I was going to reach out to a female. There you are. Wonderful. Brilliant. Saves me a job. So I always go back to basics and do as I'm told and how I was trained. So I always make sure that I give evidence of the connection first. I'm very much aware of this whole standing back thing. It seems to be important for more than one reason than just identifying her. It's almost as though she would have done that. You not so. You would be the one to push forward, but you're starting to step back a bit. It feels to me like somebody or someone or something has tried to knock your confidence, and although they haven't truly succeeded, there's a little bit of niggling doubt, because as that feeling there is, it's now gone round the back here, and it's like in the back of my mind. So I do feel that she's very much aware that there's been some niggling doubt with you, that somebody has actually forced upon you. But the point is, the reason this lady is coming through is because as much as she wouldn't push herself forward until it was just you, God, when she was on her own, she would have really give you a right good kicking for backing off. You know who you are. You know what you're like. You know what you're supposed to be doing. And don't you let them blooming well stop you. And so she's very much here to give you this push forward, and I have to give you that as basically the situation around your life. I don't know if you can right, okay, thank you. Thank you to the background crew, because I really cannot read down there. This is perfect. Well done, by the way. I was watching a news report before this service, and it was very much about that, and I did wonder if it come up, because they make me aware of things. But well done for getting out. But above and beyond that, she is still concerned that you're not quite fully you again yet, and she wants to remind you. I'm going back to this bit here, and I know I referenced about the end. I don't know whether if this connects or if it's important, but she keeps saying, remember the last. So thank you. Remember the last thing I said to you. Remember the last thing I said to you. And there was a look. There was an exchange of looks as well. I don't know whether it was a knowing look or a cold hard stare, but there was a knowing look, and also the message from her is to remember the last thing I said, because apparently it ties in. I don't know what it is. I'm not supposed to know what it is. It's your life, your business. She was very private in that way, so she's actually very good at communicating in the right way, so that myself and all of these lovely people watching, as nice as they are, do not get oh, bless her. So it was a sense of knowing. It was that sense of knowing. I do feel very, as I was, thank you. Oh, she's very good at keeping you in order. I forgot where I was, and she was like, come back here. You haven't said that bit yet. She's very organized in that way. And she's, when it comes to people who communicate, they are very, very good at getting their point across without other people knowing what's going on. And that's really quite important. And she was very much like that, I feel. Don't get me wrong, she liked a good old chin wag. But when she was told to keep gob shut, she did. And actually, I get the feeling that there was a lot more that she could have said. I'm also being made, thank you. I'm being made aware of an anniversary either connected to herself or yourself in April. Thank you. I want to go round about the time of when we're hoping to all be having a bit of a party around the 20th-ish of April. I also have to thank you. That's a nice one. Also, middle of October as an anniversary, either yourself or her. Do feel free to keep chipping in and tell me if I'm absolutely talking to myself. But I tend to just keep talking because they keep talking to me. Once she got going, she couldn't be shut up. And I'm exactly the same. Bless her. But everything that she said, thank you. Everything that she said had meaning, purpose, integrity, kindness, and compassion. That's what was at the heart of this lady. And I know, thank you. She's telling me that she knows that it was a wrench. But she also reminds me of what I said at the beginning of the service to convey to you. April 14th, Dad passed October. Scooter weekend in Bridlington for sure. Quite right too. Quite right. So yeah. Remember that compassion and that humor that was blended in. Whenever she helped, it's like she was. Oh, the web we weave. Oh, the web we weave. And it was always a very pretty web. Filled with upliftment, laughter, but also really, really sage sound advice. I also need to Okay. What's that? Okay. Either it's a piece of jewelry or an injury, and it's either connected to her or yourself, but I need to draw my attention to the wrist area. I'm not really getting what that's about, and she really isn't that interested in that one. So I said, give me some more information, please. And she said, I'll tell her about the wrist. So that's what I do, and there we are. So I hope that has been of some benefit to you, but she's... Oh, hang on. She could be a little bit forthright when you make a mistake and she gets used to you because you've forgotten something. Oh, bless. Thank you. Oh, you kept it safe. Good. You've forgotten something. You said at the beginning you're going back to the way you used to work. And so I do have to give you a flower. Because that was always the way I was trying to give a parting gift. And so I get given a flower as a symbol, a representation, a memory link, or as a message. And usually it's kind of straightforward and simple, but that's the only reason she reminded me about the flower, because she hasn't given me a flower. She's given me a bag of flour. And she just laughed as she put it in my hand and said she knows what to do. Just get on and keep making it work. Knead it, bake it, make it, succeed. And so I'll say, God bless you. And I hope that's been of help to you. Okay. She's still chatting away in the background. She's bumped into a few people that she knows. And bless you, Sarah. Okay. Okay, I've got a gentleman coming through. Now, this is the kind of guy that you don't mess with. This is the kind of guy that you don't make fun of unless you know him really, really well. He comes across initially as this very, very, broad-shouldered man's man, don't cross me, don't look at me funny. And yet he's got such a naughty sense of humor. As I can still feel it, his hands on my shoulders now, actually. He stood behind me and put his hands on my shoulders, like we would be given healing, but this was just him grabbing hold and saying, and he just turned around, hello, young man. And that was literally how he introduced himself. But there's also this really, really naughty side of his personality that was this fun and uplifting, and people didn't really see or know that because people were, I can't word it like that. He's definitely northern, and I say that with absolute love and passion. Oh, bless you, Fee. I'm bless you. She's not going anywhere. In actual fact, she's been having a chat with this guy as well. She does like linking it. Right, so, Sean, hello. Would you also understand? What was you going to say, dear? Oh yeah. People didn't really understand him. He came across that people. Yeah. He's definitely northern, thank you. I'm northern, he says. And I say that with absolute respect because he calls a spade. And frankly, thank you. People judge people too much and they judge a book by its cover. So we've got a bit of a possible two here. So let's find out exactly where we're going. Give me something, dear boy. Do I have a third? Have I got a third bidder on this, Jenny? No bidding with me, only the bets. So this guy, he did like a bit of a flutter. I don't feel that he would have spent all of his life savings but I do feel that he liked to lose a few quid. He liked to lose a few quid. That's how he put it, not me. But this whole, we need to get something a little bit more specific, please, mate. Right, thank you. Yeah, I agree. Come on, mate. Right, one of you should know. What is that? Right, let's describe him. Thank you. He's wearing a flat cap. He looks like he's got hair, but when you take the cap off, you realise he hasn't. I just got told off for making fun of his hair. He had really, really strong jaw. But as he aged, that jaw stayed strong but started to lower down. I see. So we're losing a few of the potentials now, so that's narrowing it down. Thank you. Oh, okay. I do. Thank you. I know I said about gambling, but I also get a little bit about horses as well. And I do stand here with a pocket watch, and I think somebody still might have it. But I am having problems with my eyes. So I do feel either he had trouble seeing before he passed, or he had problems with his eyes throughout his life, and he was always glasses on, glasses off, rubbing his eyes. And I don't feel that he would have done like we. It's like the corners of it really going in there like that, and really getting in there with the thumbs and all that. So it's proper. Horses was the betting, but I also think that there was something more to do with horses as well. So do we have a taker here, please? Right, so we've done. Oh, bless you, Sean. We've ruled out Sean. Picture, the one in the. What picture? Was I talking about a picture? Just shows how much I don't take notice of what I'm saying. Oh, I think they're talking amongst themselves about the connection. Because I've missed some of it. Do we have anyone who can understand this gentleman based on the extra information that I've given, or have I eliminated all of you? You know, that wouldn't be a first. He's actually got a bit of a sense that he was quite patient to a point, but he's sitting there with me waiting. He's going, I'll give him a certain amount of time, and that'll be it. Really nice. But he said that with a big smile. Right. Okay. Thank you. Paul. Hello. Right. So you can say 100% the description matches the picture. Oh, I like that. Very kind of you. So let's see where we are at with. Right. Okay. It's interesting that he should talk about patience. Now, I have to say to everybody, I do know Paul mildly. I wouldn't say that we've ever met, and I wouldn't say that I know everything about him. But we have been we've been sporking. We've been talking. Okay, there goes the teeth. Right. Okay. So we've got potential 3 still. All these extra people. Well, we've eliminated it 3. So keep an ear out, and whoever it is, I'm just going to rattle on with it, and then you can tell me at the end, because he is getting impatient now. Like you said, he's impatient to a point. Bless his heart, and his impatience is with me, because he didn't always like the long-winded conversations. He was, in fairness, a man of few words. Oh, bless you. We'll keep listening anyway. We'll find out. Thank you. Okay, so obviously when Paul came up and said that it was 100% match the picture, yes, I do know Paul. He did comment earlier that I gave him a reading here once before, but I wouldn't say that we know much about each other, other than what we've spoken about online in public as well. And he just says, "All right, enough of that. Enough about him and you, and now about me." And he's trying to distract. That's the thing. And Chris Mackle thinks it's for him. Okay. Right. Identify where we're going, please, my friend. Right. There is a mark, scar, a mole, or an injury, or there's something on one of his cheeks in around about this area. I'm also being made aware, thank you, and I am working with my eyes closed at the moment, so I will look for answers again in a minute. There's something about somebody on the earth plane right now is either been rolling up a duvet or making a bed, or even it could even be a camping gear, but I can see this duvet type thing being rolled up, and that's here and now on the earth plane with one of you lovely people watching at home to help pin down who this is. Something about a duvet in a bed, and obviously there was a mark on the cheek. So whoever that is for, okay. One of the main reasons he's come through is to remind that level of tolerance that he had and the way he would deal with people. And you know, part of the way people saw him was bravado. The other part was deliberate. And the reason it was deliberate is, thank you. If you can convince the world that there's no point in battling you, you'll never have a battle with anyone. If you can convince the world that you're not worth fighting, no one will ever fight with you. And Chris says, sorry, Paul, darling. Then I think, because it was definitely, you know, closer than Sunday. We're halfway through the week now, my friend. But you know, maybe he is wrapped up in the quilt. Okay, sorry guys, I do apologize. So I think we've now isolated this Chris, and his messages aren't showing up. This gentleman did say that's typical of him. His message is not showing up because there's some funny thing about the way you two used to communicate. It's as though you didn't communicate, but you did. And he finds it funny that he's saying, I've come to all the effort of finding this bloke sitting here in this flat countryside in his bedroom, and I've come to talk to him, and they can't even sort out the internet so that you can talk back to him. He says that's typical of the world, isn't it? And that's, here we go with one of these world rants. And he just finds it hilarious that he can communicate with you, but you can't, through this wondrous technology. Load of old rubbish, he says. You can't, through this wondrous technology, reach back without having to go through a third party. So, you know, there we see, and there we are. Thank you. The message, really, because I'm aware that okay. Well, Tracy, would you have understood? I'd both of you listen, and I will give the final information, and then, you know, we can sort it out after, because I know that I'm taking up a lot of time with this gentleman, but he would have loved that, actually. He would have found it highly hilarious that he was the center of attention. He wouldn't have ever sought it not really, but he would have loved being the center of attention. It's kind of like this little wry smile that he's got on his face now. It's like, yeah, fighting over me. Yeah. And you know, I think that's part of his personality and part of the reason why it's been so, you know, even with specifics like a mark on the cheek and a duvet, you know, it's going out to several people. And I think he was a bit of a games player as well as a better. I think he was a bit of a games player in the fun sense, not the unkind sense, and just like to tease people a bit. And that's certainly the kind of personality I'm feeling. But I am feeling so very, very cold with him right now. And you know, it's really in my shoulders, and I actually think he's been around me a lot of the day, because I have felt really, really cold in my bones all day. It's been quite warm today, so I do feel that perhaps he's been hanging around. So he's the kind of person that would have also liked to have scouted out the situation before he got into anything. And so on that note, what's that? Oh, okay. I would have not had you down as a cat man, but he's just brought a cat with him. He doesn't look like a cat person, but there's a cat with him. Either it's yours or his, but it comes in with him. Look at me. Okay. I wouldn't say it's got a cheeky grin, more of an aggressive lisp, but it's got like a patch over here and then white over here, and then there's a big old dark patch on the back. Cats have to remember what they look like, and they're not very good at remembering that. Okay, so Chris is stealing the show, as he would have done too. So the cat definitely comes in just to say hi, and okay. Okay. The message is, sometimes it does feel like you're pulling teeth, but hang on in there, because the more you fight for it, the more deserved and earned it is. So just remember not to pull all of your teeth out. But he says you very much feel like you're pulling teeth with someone at the moment, and feeling somewhat frustrated. He says, well, yeah, that's how you earn your gold stripes and your gold stars. So don't give up, but don't pull every single tooth out. Otherwise you won't be able to munch on your hot cross bun that's in the cupboard. So I'll say God bless you with that, and thank you for listening. Okay. See where we're going next.
Sorry to jump in, Reverend
Hello.
Nick. Just remind me at the end, I've just had another message from Chris Michael, only I can't say it on the broadcast about the cat. But just remind me in case I forget to tell you. Perhaps we've got time for one more, if you wouldn't mind.
No problem at all. Stay where you are. Because I was about to ask where you were, because there's somebody here for you.
Oh, thank you.
And you've frozen figuratively and literally. Right. Okay. So who are you and why? Who are you and where you come from?
That sounds like a game show.
Actually, that is. I get that reference from Bullseye. You know, a bit of a crossover episode. We have our Bullseye references, so that can be yours.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you remember Bullseye?
Yes.
Now, there's a reason why I can't remember the name of the presenter. Don't tell me, because they will when I'm allowed to. But the look of Jim Bowen.
And there it is.
If you were to stand this person and Jim Bowen,
yeah,
about 20-30 feet away and look at them, they could pass as brothers.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
That's why I got the what's your name and where you come from.
I see.
You would understand someone in your family or your partner's family. I want to go 2 generations back with this gentleman. Would you understand a Jimbo and lookalike in your family on a grandfather, great uncle connection?
I would indeed.
Right. Okay. It's module number 1. How do they do that? How do they do that? So yeah, it's Jimbo. Yeah, but he also had this really, really nutty sense of humor. So he could himself have been a comedian publicly. Yes. Remember what I said earlier about the tears of a clown? I think this is really it was probably him that had that influence in that, because everyone that comes through, this is important actually for you and for everyone at home. Everyone who comes through and is going to give a message that evening has an influence on what is said in the philosophy. Gordon has always told me that, and he maintains that. We always discuss it amongst the givers of the message as well, because that's how it makes such an impact. So he would have had that influence on the philosophy. Because in actual fact, he says the apple does not fall far from the tree, young lady.
I'm sure I don't know what you mean.
I'm sure I do, because all night... thank you. And this is, if I get too personal, tell me so. But what he's saying to me is that all night you've been trying to give everybody fizz so that fizz would reflect back on you. He says he was like that, and you very much are like that. You think that if you can make everybody else laugh, it will make you laugh. And that's what he's trying to get across to you. He doesn't fully accept. What is it that he doesn't fully accept? Come back. Oh, okay. Sorry, I jumped ahead of myself there. Okay. When it comes to, the way he felt and the way you are feeling, and that attempt to make everybody happy, to make you feel good, he doesn't thank you. Okay. He doesn't fully accept that is an accurate description of who you are. It's just simply a part of who you are. Yeah. And he says it's really, really, nice of you to try and make the world smile, but sometimes it doesn't. I'm reminded of a saying that I've said quite a lot over the last few weeks. Do you know what? In spite of him being a bit of a comedian, he was a philosopher. Yeah. He had such a great philosophy, and he's bringing to mind so many things that I've said and heard over the last few weeks, months, even years, that I've said years ago. And he had such a good memory. That's why I said that years ago. He didn't miss a blooming trick. I nearly tripped up then. He's naughty. He keeps trying to trick me up. But yeah, he reminded me of the saying that we are all the sum of our tears. Too many and the best of us is washed away, but too few and the ground is infertile and nothing can grow. He reminds you of that, and reminds you that, thank you, it's okay to not be okay, because that was his biggest mistake. Yeah, it was. He never accepted that. He didn't believe that it was okay to be okay. No. He was also in an argument. See, here is bringing the humor back now, because I can see I can see exactly where this train of thought is going before it's finished, and it worries me. Is in his life, he was never fully understanding or accepting of this way of life.
Yes.
And he just turned around. He says, "I still don't believe it."
Yeah, he would.
That's his. You know, he would call the sky green if he thought he could get away with it just to be right. He says, "Yeah, fair dues. I've got my proof, but that don't mean to say I'm going to share it." You know, so I still don't believe that I'm up here. You know, in actual fact, he would have joked from time to time if there was anything, he'd have gone the other direction. He certainly didn't, and he certainly wouldn't, because at the heart of all of the bravado and of all of the concern and difficulty, do you know what? This was a good, genuine, honest man who tried his best. And you can't ask for more than that. You know, you can have angel wings and butterflies and fairies and roses and even little blue dots on the horizon. But sometimes what you need is just someone who'll say how it is, make you laugh when you need to laugh, mop your tears when you need to cry, and grab your hand and drag you along when you need kicking and screaming, dragging along. And this is that man. This really is that man. I don't know whether he was a very good singer. If he was, he's lost his voice, because he just did a really, really dodgy impression of Solid as a Rock. And he stood there, and I think he was the traditional dad dancer, because I haven't stood up during a message for a long time. I've got my microphone, I've got my speaker. Hang on a second. Let me make sure the volume is up so I can hear you, because I've got to do what he just did.
Okay.
And he literally stood over there. He's going, solid as a rock. He says, I might not be able to sing, I might not be able to dance, but I can get my point across.
Oh, yes. And, it always give it a good go.
In actual fact, he just had a pop at me as well. He says, and it got you off your feet as well.
Oh.
You know, so, you know, he really did try and help the world.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And, you know, thank you. The people that change the world are the quiet ones, while the loud ones take all the credit. And you don't change the world by making mass influence. You don't change the world by changing everyone's mind at once. You work on one soul at a time. And I'm not that good at my Saturday job either, Paul. My Friday job, on the other hand. But he liked a naughty joke, and actually this is him still taking away the because he would always try and divert when it got a little bit too close and too intimate. He would always bat it off, and that's why I instantly drew to that, because that's part of who he was. But he does have to say this, and he needs to say it. You don't change the world en masse. You do it one soul at a time, and you do it right.
Yeah.
And that is really all that matters. All he ever needed to know, and certainly all you need to know.
Thank you.
However, just as Jeanette comes back in, because he actually said, hang on, watch out.
You've seen her with that chainsaw behind me on that photo, haven't you?
Sarah, before he goes, rather than giving you a flower or anything, have you had a crack appear somewhere?
Jeanette, honestly, what can I do with her? Do you know, weirdly enough, one of yeah, in my head, yeah. One of our tenants has actually.
Because he was just laughing that perhaps that's where the lost keys are in this crack.
Right.
So I think somebody's lost some keys, and there's this, he's just laughing about this big old crack appear, and he says it's certainly where they lost their sense of humor, but maybe that's where the keys went also, because he just doesn't really want to end on a soppy philosophical note.
No, it won't
He
do.
wants to make you laugh.
Yeah.
Because having given you the guidance and direction that he wanted to, it's now okay to laugh, because you'll be laughing for the right reasons. And on that note, I will say, God bless you.
Thank you, and God bless Reverend Nick. If I may just say something there, that's what he used to. It was my granddad that you got there, one of my granddads. And if my grandma was going off on one and she was chowing at everybody, should we call it chowing? He'd be stood at the fireplace, just sort of warming his cockles, and he'd turn around and he'll have dropped his teeth out and start singing with no teeth in, so that. Just so that everybody started laughing, which used to annoy my grandma, and then she'd bat him with something, you know. So yeah, I get it. I do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I will just thank everybody for bearing with me. It's my first demonstration of mediumship, not only in about a month and a half, but also since the 20th of January. It's the first time I've worked, and I did say that if I was going to work anywhere, it would be amongst friends and family. So it was always going to be one of our churches that I worked in, because that's how I feel. Having said that, we've got Littleport tomorrow night, and then I'm working at the Hythe Church on Friday. So it's a busy week, along with running a petrol station too. And you never know, I might get me lines done, because they're starting to show up in spite of all the filters now. Because
you need an orange light, trust me.
Yeah. So I might have to get some Botox when all of this is over, because I think it has aged me a bit. But thank you all for your support and your kindness this evening, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Nick. It's lovely.
It is. Bless you, Nick. What fabulous evidence there, isn't it, Jeanette? I only popped on the screen to because Chris said, "Can you just tell him?" So I will tell you when we finish what he said. Yeah. Thank you very much. Could we ask you to do the closing prayer for us, please, Reverend Nick?
Certainly can. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, of course.
Because I've just plugged in. In more ways than one. Let's just join together, friends, as we say, Great Spirit, Father, Mother, God. As we carry on in our daily lives, let us take with us the knowledge that there is love in the universe. Let us take with us that there is unconditional love in the world of spirit, and that we, as spirit beings ourselves, must channel that unconditional love into everything we do, in every person we meet, in every action and deed we make. Let us remember that this, above all things, is the greatest gift that we can share, not only for those around us, but also ourselves. Let us remember, Great Spirit, and help us to remember that we go from each day to each day, learning a new lesson that is designed to help us grow, to give us strength, and to give us courage. And let us remember, Great Spirit, that when we make mistakes, there's always a reason, but that we can learn from it. And it's not in the act of error, but in the action of correction that matters. And as we go from this place, back about our daily lives, I ask for a blessing to be placed on each person here present. And that blessing is the knowledge that you are always there to give us the strength to climb and not move the mountain. Amen.
Amen. Lord, keep us safe this night, secure from all our fears. May angels guide us while we sleep, till morning light appears. Amen.
Amen.
That's so true. I like that, Reverend Nick. Thank you for that. Thank you, Anne, for saying that we're part of the congregation, so you like it when Jeanette and I get messages. I honestly only popped on just to finish off Chris's message, so thank you for that. I'll do a few announcements, may I, Jeanette? Is that all right with you? Thank you very much. Next week's speaker is Philip Martin Towler. And I think next week we're going to mix it up a little bit and bring people on the screen next week for him, because I know, bless him, and he won't mind me saying he does struggle a little bit with his hearing. And I think it would be better if we got people on screen. So if you would like to go into a little draw, we'll do a little draw, and then I'll draw maybe 4 people out, and then we'll bring you on the screen next week just to make it a bit different. Hey, we've got the little duckies for you, Reverend Nick. This should be a special treat. The only thing is, me being me, my ducks don't quack. Somehow they crackle. Don't ask me, I don't know. So this is the for the one-on-one raffle to win one-on-one reading with Martin Quigley. And the weird thing is, I tried this several times today just to see why the ducks don't quack when I do it live on here. And every time I did it today, they quacked. So I've got everything crossed. If they don't quack, it's not my fault. It's them upstairs, and I'm blaming them, and I'm sticking with that. Thank you, everybody, for supporting us and buying a raffle ticket. Here come the duckies. And true to form, they just crackled again. Honestly, I'm probably the only person in the world that has ducks that don't quack.
Are you screen sharing that?
Yes.
Have you clicked the little checkbox above it that says carry on audio?
Oh, perhaps that might be it. We may get quacking ducks yet, everyone. We just need to know.
This is why I'm the suffragan bishop of the Christian Spiritualist Society.
That's
Not because
right.
I'm clever or special. It's just that I know how to tell my fellow ministers which blooming buttons to press. That's why I got the job from Reverend Lynn, because I'm better on the internet than she is.
You're a techno.
That's the only reason.
It just knows which buttons to press.
That's right.
Well, I say no more.
Oh dear! I better tell everybody who number 1 is while you two are still giggling there, aren't I?
Yes, please do.
Oh, what hat? Oh, it had a policeman's hat on. Now did you see that, Reverend Nick?
I did. I did happen to notice that. Actual fact, my dad had a police escort from Soham through to Littleport.
Exactly. That's why I'm just mentioning that. I've just seen it.
I thought I'd qualify that for you.
But now he's a little duck.
And now he's a little duck.
He is, and he's in the winning team, and he's won for Anne McAteer. Congratulations, Anne!
Hey,
you
well
in the
done,
one-on-one. So well done. We'll put you in touch with Martin. Don't forget to watch Littleport service tomorrow evening with Reverend Nick. What time are you starting, Reverend Nick?
Well, we always start about 7:40, just like we did this evening. From time to time, we're a minute or two long. It's not usually a good spiritual, healthy debate like what we were having. It's usually because Lynn's lost a microphone or something, or a recipient or the medium hasn't got on time. You see, we sensible three were having a very healthy and sensible conversation that had to be finished, which was why we were 3.5 minutes late. Usually at Littleport is because somebody didn't press the right button.
Oh, I'm guilty of that. When I did that interview with Reverend Lynn, and I thanked her very much, I just ended broadcast. I forgot all about the closing credits. But you know what? Nobody noticed until I opened my big gob.
Speaking of closing credits, and in all seriousness, have you noticed ours have changed a little bit?
Yes, I think they're fabulous. I was going to speak to you about that.
Would you like me to do you an opening sequence, dear?
Oh, but only if you feel like you can.
Oh, I'm sure I can rustle something up for you.
Thank you very much. That'll be much appreciated, won't it, Reverend Jeanette?
It certainly will, yes.
I have my uses.
You do indeed.
Not many, but I have some.
Do you want to add anything, Jeanette?
No, who's next week?
Next. No, I did say Philip Martin Towler, because we're going to.
That's right. Yeah, I remember.
I'm going to blame it on your tablets, love. Keep taking your pills.
You'd said a lot from when you'd said it the first time. It's a bit like your messages. You send me one message and then 40 down from there, you'll go, did you see that thing I sent you this morning? No, it's disappeared in the other 40 that you've sent me.
And then she'll send me a message saying, you never told me that. I say, you missed it on message 36. Keep up. I have to do it when I'm at work while I'm thinking. I text her quickly and send. I bet she opens the phone and goes, oh, pass me my coffee.
She messages as often as she talks.
That's a lot. Well, you see, you're talking
Really?
to two big talkers on here, and Reverend Nick, you could wear the same hat, my dear.
Darling, I don't just wear the hat. I leave the hat on. I've got the chaps, I've got the waistcoat, and I've got everything else in between, darling.
Oh, get it.
Although that Friday job I was talking about, it literally is just the hat and the chaps.
Hey ho to that one.
Yeah.
Yeehaw indeed. And we will be on Friday Q&A, just moving swiftly on, with Christina Parafit. Nobody's met her yet on our congregation, so the Q&A should be good. So if you've got any questions for Christine, then let me have those. And I'm just going to quickly plug here, on the 1st of March, which is a Monday service, we've become so popular with our services. We've got all sorts of mediums contacting us, and we're full up all year on Wednesdays. So I've had to start doing some on Fridays and some on Mondays. And Monday, the 1st of March, will be your very good friend, Reverend Nick Matthew Stapley from Canada.
Hey, he's a lovely, lovely bloke. Do you know what? We started speaking probably, 1-2 months ago. And, you know, he's been such a good mate, and, you know, he's checking up on me all the time and making sure I'm fine without being too pushy, because, you know, we never know what to say or do. So he just sends me a message, and if I answer, I answer. If I don't, I don't. And I always do in the end. But we've been talking because, you know, I love the idea of Canada. You know, I've always wanted to go there, and he's such a lovely, lovely guy. But for you guys, the benefit is, of course, that it will be about 2 o'clock in the afternoon for him. So he'll be fresh from the day rather than, yes, I came home from work and I burnt my tea and I fell over the cat and now I've come to serve you. He's full of beans. He's full of love. He's full of laughter. Very evidential guy, and such a lovely person with it as well. So
yeah, looking forward to that. And I'm sorry, Nick, you described me just there. I fell through the door 5:20, threw my tea down my neck, brushed my hair, and then here I am, you know. So I'll be, as soon as I come off air, I'll be like
Just share that from Lisa, will you please? She follows him around everywhere. There you go.
Where is it?
The very last comment that I can see.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. No.
Have we just made Lisa's evening?
We've made Lisa's evening. You know,
good.
He's such a modest and shy person, but I will confess he's got a lovely, lovely voice. We were talking about voices and accents earlier. He has got a really, really lovely voice, and it's so soothing and relaxing. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I'm an old man, and I'm old enough to be his father, probably. I'm not. It's only a couple of years between us, to be fair. It's just that I haven't aged very well. He has.
Bless you. Oh dear. Right. Well, I think it's time for us to bid everybody a good evening. Do you think? Thank you for a wonderful evening, Reverend Nick and Reverend Jeanette. Just bear with us after I've clicked the credits first, and then ended the broadcast, and we'll just have a quick chin wag before we disappear. Yes. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Without you, we wouldn't have a church. We appreciate you all showing up for us. Well, we just kind of enjoy being on here chatting, if we're honest, don't we? So, and the service is just a bonus. So, without further ado, I'll say it's good night from me.
And it's good night from her.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
God bless.